Get ready to ride. The 15 most shocking, dramatic, and unbelievable facts about True Grit. Prepare to have your perception of a cinematic classic completely shattered. You think you know Rooster Cogburn's story? You've only seen the surface. We're about to venture into the untamed territory of Hollywood legend, digging up the most scandalous, heartbreaking, and jaw-dropping secrets behind the 1969 masterpiece, True Grit. This isn't just a list. It's a dramatic deep dive into a world of backstage brawls, career-defining risks, and the one-of-a-kind grit that forged a movie icon. Brace yourself for the wild ride. You'll never see this film the same way again. The 15 Facts, the role of Mattie. Ross was a battleground that claimed a Hollywood princess. Before Kim Darby ever stepped onto the set, the role of the tenacious Mattie Ross was a hotbed of power plays. The part was first offered to Mia Farrow, who was fresh off her career-defining role in Rosemary's Baby. However, Farrow had a wild, non-negotiable condition. She demanded that producer Hal B. Wallace replace the film's chosen director, the gruff Henry Hathaway, with none other than Roman Polanski. Her reasoning? She believed Polanski's unique vision was the only way to do the script justice. Wallace, a Hollywood titan in his own right, refused to be strong-armed. The negotiation collapsed, Mia Farrow walked away, and the role fell into Kim Darby's capable, though far less experienced hands. Elvis Presley was desperate for a shot at fame, but his manager sabotaged his chance. Long before singer Glenn Campbell was cast as the flamboyant LaBoeuf, the role was earmarked for Elvis Presley. Elvis was a huge fan of the story and was eager to prove himself as a serious, dramatic actor. The producers were equally enthusiastic, seeing the massive box office draw Elvis would bring. But there was one man standing in the way. His notoriously controlling manager, Colonel Tom Parker. Parker, in his infinite obstinacy, demanded that Elvis receive top billing over John Wayne. For a legend like the Duke, who was synonymous with the Western genre, this was an unthinkable insult. The studio rejected Parker's demand immediately, and the deal was off. Elvis, forever a star in a gilded cage, lost out on the role of a lifetime. The director was an absolute tyrant whose temper drove a star to the brink of quitting. Director. Henry Hathaway was a Hollywood veteran, but his methods were famously brutal. He was known for yelling, screaming, and publicly humiliating his actors. Kim Darby, a young and relatively inexperienced actress, was a frequent target of his outbursts. He would berate her for her acting choices and writing skills, often reducing her to tears. The tensions reached a breaking point with Glenn Campbell. After a particularly vicious tirade from Hathaway, Campbell snapped and threatened to walk off the film for good. Hathaway, seeing that he had pushed the star too far, was forced to backtrack and apologize, but the damage to the set's atmosphere was already done. John Wayne, the man who lived and breathed Hollywood, was forced to break his daughter's heart. Few people know that John Wayne's own flesh and blood almost played his co-star. Wayne was so convinced that his own daughter, Asa Wayne, was the perfect person to play Mattie that he personally guaranteed her the role. He told her it was hers, a monumental gift from one of Hollywood's most powerful figures. However, when the director and producers met Asa, they decided she was too young and didn't have the professional experience the role demanded. John Wayne, with his powerful and imposing presence, couldn't fight them on this. He was forced to deliver the devastating news to his daughter himself, a rare moment of vulnerability for the stoic movie star. John Wayne's unforgettable Oscar was more than an award. It was a final dramatic act of respect. By the late 1960s, many critics considered John Wayne a relic of a bygone era, and his career was on the decline. He had been passed over for an Oscar for decades despite iconic performances. His win for True Grit was the industry's emotional and symbolic gesture of respect for a lifetime of work. It was a standing ovation that lasted for minutes, a moment of true Hollywood magic. The win wasn't just for his portrayal of Rooster Cogburn, it was a sentimental tribute to the Duke's enduring legacy. In his acceptance speech, he famously joked, "If I'd have known that, I'd have put that patch on 35 years earlier." acknowledging the long and arduous journey to the pinnacle of his career. The eye patch that defined his character was a masterpiece of deception. John Wayne was a pro, and he knew he needed to be able to see to deliver his performance. A standard one-eyed patch would have been a massive hindrance. The costume and prop departments came up with an ingenious solution. They engineered a custom patch that had a piece of see-through gauze and fine window screen mesh sewn into it. This allowed him to maintain his peripheral vision and move naturally without bumping into things on set. A small detail that was absolutely critical to the film's success. The fearless girl on horseback was actually an actress, terrified of her own steed. The most shocking contrast in the film's making was the bravery of the on-screen character versus the fear of the actress playing her. Kim Darby, who played the steadfast Mattie, was absolutely terrified of horses. To overcome this, a veteran stunt double, a 65-year-old woman who had been in the business for decades, was hired for all the riding scenes. For close-up shots, a clay mask of Kim Darby's face was created for the stunt double to wear. It was a bizarre yet necessary filmmaking trick to make audiences believe the young woman was a skilled rider. The script was penned by a Hollywood outcast, and a political foe came to her rescue. The brilliant, sharp dialogue of True Grit was written by a remarkable woman named Marguerite Roberts. What makes this fact so powerful is that Roberts had been blacklisted from Hollywood for years after she refused to testify before the infamous House Un-American Activities Committee. She was a political pariah. However, John Wayne, a famously staunch conservative, was so enthralled with her script that he made it his mission to get her full credit. It was a rare instance where a person's art transcended politics, and John Wayne's passionate support was a lifeline for a blacklisted writer. The character of Rooster Cogburn is a Hollywood unicorn. Rooster Cogburn is one of the only characters in the entire history of cinema to earn 2 different Actors Academy Award nominations for the exact same role. John Wayne won his Best Actor Oscar in 1969 for his portrayal, and over 4 decades later, Jeff Bridges was nominated for the same award in the 2010 remake. It's a testament to the raw power of the character's legacy and its ability to inspire greatness in the actors who inhabit it. The most iconic scene in the film was a one-take wonder performed by the legend himself. The heart-stopping moment where Rooster Cogburn, with his gun and rifle blazing, charges his horse into a 4-man shootout was a monumental risk. Most directors would have used a stuntman, but John Wayne insisted on performing the dangerous stunt himself. His masterful horsemanship and unwavering focus allowed him to nail the shot in one single jaw-dropping take. It was a testament to his sheer professionalism and a moment that instantly became immortalized in cinema history. The film was so successful, it launched a sequel and a TV movie. The unprecedented commercial and critical success of True Grit gave rise to its very own cinematic universe. In 1975, John Wayne reprised his role in the sequel, Rooster Cogburn, which saw him team up with screen legend Katharine Hepburn. It was a box office hit and a rare opportunity to see 2 of Hollywood's biggest icons on screen together. The character of Rooster Cogburn was so popular he even appeared in a TV movie, True Grit, A Further Adventure in 1978, further cementing his place in pop culture. The most famous line in the film was an act of impromptu genius. The iconic line, "Fill your hand, you son of a bitch," was not in the original script. It was a last-minute improvisation by John Wayne, who felt the written dialogue lacked the punch and finality that the scene demanded. This moment of spontaneous brilliance perfectly encapsulated Rooster Cogburn's hardened, no-nonsense spirit and became an unforgettable cinematic quote. All thanks to the Duke's intuition, the film's box office victory sent a shockwave through Hollywood. In an era dominated by gritty counterculture films like Bonnie and Clyde and Easy Rider, the traditional Western was considered dead. But with its record-breaking box office success, grossing over $31 million on a budget of just $2.5 million, True Grit proved everyone wrong. Its triumph showed that there was still a massive, eager audience for old-fashioned storytelling and traditional heroes, proving that John Wayne's star power was far from over. The dramatic hanging scene was a testament to cutting-edge stunt. Work. The scene where Rooster Cogburn and his posse watch as a man is hanged was a marvel of stunt coordination. The actors and stuntmen involved were outfitted with specially designed harnesses and cables that were concealed under their clothes. These cables ran from their hips down to their insteps, allowing them to drop a short distance and hit their feet instead of their necks. This was an advanced safety measure for the time and helped ensure no one was injured during the intense and dramatic sequence. The book that inspired the film was a literary phenomenon. The novel True Grit by Charles Portis was not just a well-regarded book, it was a bona fide cultural event. The book became so popular upon its release that it was called a buttonhole book, a term used to describe a piece of literature that people would talk about so much they would literally buttonhole you and pull you into a conversation about it. This massive popularity and word-of-mouth success made it the perfect source material for a Hollywood blockbuster. The final curtain, and there you have it, a deep dive into the astonishing, dramatic, and utterly engaging world behind the making of True Grit. The next time you watch that eye-patched legend fill his hand, you'll know the incredible true stories behind the movie magic. You'll see the power struggles, the terrifying directors, the heartbreaking moments, and the sheer audacity that went into creating a film that is just as tough and magnificent as its characters. Now that you know the whole story, it's time to saddle up and revisit a classic with a newfound appreciation for the cinematic grit that made it all possible.